Ladies and gentlemen, our ceremony will begin in 2 minutes. Please move toward your seats. We ask that you silence all cell phones and electronic devices during the ceremony. Distinguished guests, general officers, command sergeants major, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Mr. William Kidd, Installation Management Command, Directorate Training Director, and Colonel Christopher Ritchie, Garrison Commander, Fort Knox, Kentucky, welcome to the United States Army Garrison, Fort Knox, Kentucky, Change of Command Ceremony. This morning, Colonel Christopher Ritchie will relinquish command of the United States Army Garrison, Fort Knox, to Colonel David Holstead. The reviewing officer for today's ceremony is Mr. William Kidd, Director, Installation Management Command, Directorate Training. The official party for today's ceremony is Mr. William Kidd, Director, Installation Management Command, Directorate Training, Colonel Christopher Ritchie, outgoing Garrison Commander, and Colonel David Holstead, the incoming Garrison Commander. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for honors to the nation and remain standing for the invocation that will be presented by the Garrison Chaplain, Lieutenant Colonel James Breckenridge. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, flowers and gifts are being presented to the outgoing and incoming Garrison commanders' families. Mrs. Ritchie will be receiving a bouquet of red roses. Red represents the color of the heart and reflects the loving concern that she has bestowed upon our soldiers and civilians over the past 2 years. Colonel Ritchie's father, Ron Ritchie, is receiving a special gift. Miss Barbara Prophet, a Gold Star neighbor, will be receiving a bouquet of white roses, symbolizing her lifelong loyalty to the Fort Knox community. Mrs. Missy Holstead, Colonel Holstead's wife, is receiving a bouquet of yellow roses. Yellow is the color of new beginning and symbolizes her arrival to the United States Army Garrison, Fort Knox, Kentucky. In time, Mrs. Holstead's rosebeds will blossom, as will her relationship with the soldiers, civilians, and families of Fort Knox. Colonel Holstead's mother, Diane, his mother-in-law, Jenny, and his daughter, Maggie, are receiving yellow roses as well. His sons, Luke and Andrew, are receiving coins. From ancient times, armies throughout the world have conducted ceremonies to commemorate victories over enemies, honor comrades in arms, and celebrate special occasions as we are doing today. These ceremonies have added color and pageantry to military life while preserving tradition and stimulating esprit de corps. The Continental Army established the foundation by which our present-day ceremonies are performed, and today's ceremony is an enactment of an Army tradition that is 250 years old. It reaffirms the concept that the Army is perpetuated on time-honored values and traditions, and not on the accomplishments of individuals. Today, you will witness a small part of that tradition as the garrison, colors, and command authority of the United States Army Garrison, Fort Knox, Kentucky, are passed from one leader to another. The Non-Commissioned Officer Corps has always been the key link between the officers who provide intent and the soldiers and civilians who execute. In recognition of their essential role in the success of the command, the United States Army Garrison Fort Knox Command Sergeant Major Alejandro Lucea, will assist in the transfer of command. The change of command is a simple traditional event that is rich with symbolism and heritage. The key to the ceremony is the passing of the colors. The colors represent not only the lineage and honors of the command, but also the loyalty and unity of its soldiers and civilians. The colors are the commander's symbol of authority, representing the responsibilities to the organization. Wherever the commander is, there also are the colors. The custodian of the colors is the Command Sergeant Major, who is the senior enlisted soldier in the command and principal advisor to the commander. The passing of the colors symbolizes the transfer of authority from the outgoing commander to the incoming commander. The passing of the colors demonstrates to the soldiers and civilians of the unit that the outgoing commander has passed the mantle of leadership to the incoming commander. With this also passes the loyalty of the soldiers and civilians to their new commander. By the authority of Army Regulations 600-20, paragraph 2-5, the undersigned assumes command of the United States Army Garrison, Fort Knox, Kentucky, effective 18 July 2025. Signed, David T. Holstead, Colonel, Armor, Commanding. Command Sergeant Major Lucea is passing the colors to Colonel Christopher Ritchie, the outgoing commander, signifying the last official act between the Command Sergeant Major and the commander. Colonel Ritchie is passing the colors to Mr. William Kidd, signifying a successful completion of command. Mr. Kidd is passing the colors to Colonel David Holstead, charging him with the responsibility for the garrison as its new commander. Colonel Holstead is passing the colors to Command Sergeant Major Lasea, symbolizing his first official act with the Command Sergeant Major and placing his trust in the unit's non-commissioned officer corps, thus completing the change of command. Ladies and gentlemen, the Installation Management Command Directorate Training Director, Mr. William Kidd.
I think before I say anything, I just have to comment on the voice of Fort Knox. I kept thinking in my mind that we were going to be looking at ocelots or something because of the, it sounded like Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Great job. Let's give him a hand. I want to say, before I get started, just something that happened to me on the way here. I'm at Fort Eustis, Virginia, is where I'm headquartered, and so I flew from Richmond to Philadelphia, and then, a familiar ride from Philadelphia here to Louisville, and then to Fort Knox. And sure enough, in the little skinny commuter aircraft that we were on, there was a young woman sitting next to me, very tense, with a little camouflage rucksack underneath the seat, and she's kind of intermittently staring at the window and looking at her iPhone, and keep going back, and it seemed like she was a little preoccupied. And I said, "Well, you going to Fort Knox?" "Yes." "Are you going to Fort Knox?" "Yes." She's an ROTC cadet reporting in on the 16th of July to go to her summer cadet training. And so she was talking to me about that, and I realized that I had gone on the 16th of July 50 years before on that same trip. That was my first airplane ride ever. And the same kinds of things that young cadet were facing, the uncertainty hasn't changed. The uncertainty that we see in the massive change that the Army is going through, and indeed the whole world hasn't changed. What cleared that up for me, at that time, as we closed down Vietnam, I didn't even know if I was going to have a job after ROTC because of the drawdown of post-Vietnam era. But as soon as I arrived and the cadre took over, there was no doubt in my mind that I was in a purposeful work, that I was somewhere where people cared, and they were focused on defending the nation. That has not changed, and that is the magic of Fort Knox, the entire community here. So I want to thank you for what you do each and every day for our Army and for our nation, all of you here who contributed to that. So give yourselves a hand here. So General and Mrs. Barnett, Command Sergeant Major Walls, distinguished guests, both senior Army leaders as well as our distinguished local leaders, thank you for joining us today at this beautiful Fort Knox, the best garrison in the United States Army. It's a great honor for me to be here today, and it's always a great backdrop in this historic post in a historic part of the United States, rich in culture, rich in history, rich in his commitment to the service of our nation. It's a perfect place for a change of command. I would just say, well, thank the rest of everyone in a minute, but I really appreciate the Command Sergeant Major, having to guide 2 colonels and a civilian through drill and ceremonies. Probably took 10 years off his life, but he did a great job. Thank you. So what you saw here today, for many of you old soldiers, is a little different than what you're used to. We call this a self-serve color guard because, we don't have a field of troops here at the Garrison Change of Command, because Installation Management Command, by its very nature, conserves the Army's warfighting strength by applying skilled, dedicated Army civilians, contractors, and volunteers to serve both the installation and the important missions there. And those folks are out on their posts today, taking care of our missions that we have here at Fort Knox, as well as the quality of life for our soldiers and their families. So I really appreciate their service. Let's give them a hand if we could, please. Now, I didn't have a chance to meet everyone here, but I've met a lot of them, both community leaders and folks that have invested heavily in the well-being of Fort Knox, both military and civilian. And you gain a sense of that proud history that I just described as you talk to them. These are people who have spent both generations putting their heart and soul in making Fort Knox what it is today, the best installation in the United States Army. It's truly a special place, but it's a special place because of you and your commitment. That commitment brought you here today, and I want to thank the leadership of Army Cadet Command, General Barnett, and the entire team there for your advocacy for this garrison. You know, a few things keep you busy every day. 3,000 cadets out here in the summer, but you always find time to provide, support and leadership to the garrison. So, sir, we really appreciate your commitment and your inspirational leadership for everyone. So this awesome ceremony that we had here and this event took a lot of hands to craft, and I just want to reach out to you and thank you for the hard work that you've done to make this a reality. And I know the two families really appreciate it, both having an appropriate send-off for one and a welcome for the other, but also the commitment to being able to show that timeless, important thing of a change of command. So I want to thank them. So let's give them a hand, if you would, please. So we just witnessed a very timeless tradition in the Army, the change of command, where the leaders and the lead of the organization come together to recognize a shift in the leadership. And I want to, and this is between two great leaders, and I want to talk about them very briefly, just for a moment. Now, housing is a big part of garrison installation management and garrison leadership. And this is an older post, so it was built around where the headquarters is right in the center of the post. And the homes of the leaders, including the garrison commander, are out around in close proximity, pretty much a stone's throw from the headquarters. And, we talked a little bit about housing, between the two commanders, because that's always a topic of discussion. And so you come to know that, that the garrison commanders have a little bit of a different thing. They have those homes, whether it's on post or off post, and they are fathers, they're husbands, they are members of a community, but they're also garrison commanders. And it reminds you of the old saying that we have in the Army, which is that soldiers live on Earth and they work on Mars. And defending this nation and leading those who do is a tough, complex, and unyielding way of life. It's not even a profession. It is a total commitment. And it demands excellence in every step that a leader makes. Competence is just not enough. You got to be the best, and you got to do your best each and every day that you're in command. And the best is what this garrison here at Fort Knox got with Colonel Chris Ritchie. Now, he's a wise commander, despite what his father said to me earlier. He is. He's a very wise commander, and he sized it up like a good soldier and recognized he wasn't going to do this alone, that he had to build a team of teams. And he certainly focused on people, and that paid off in spades of building this tremendous organization that supports this garrison so well. A high-performing team that enabled Fort Knox to improve, but also to adapt and thrive over these last 2 years. Whether it was in housing, developing a better housing scenario here for everyone who lives on the installation improvements, weathering some storms that we had that could have easily unhinged us in the production of our mission here at Fort Knox. He did all of those things, but he used that most important asset. You know, we never had enough money to do all of that. It was our people. And everything changed for the better here at Knox through his guiding hands. The garrison, ably led by Colonel Ritchie, did everything and did it superbly. Now, good leaders charge hard at the objective, but, you know, they have to have a little bit of balance. And lucky for Chris that he had his lovely wife, Judith, there every step of the way, to keep him well-grounded, connected, and on azimuth. And that was pretty good. That surprised him a little bit, so you have that and your birthday, 2 surprises in one year. That's great. But Judith, I want to thank you for your care and compassion and commitment to help your soldier be the best leader that he could be. So thank you so much. So Chris, your mission here is complete. And well done, as a leader and a soldier here at Fort Knox. Your leadership made all the difference here and will be felt long after you're gone and into the future. And we wish you well in your new role at the Maneuver Center of Excellence. And I know for you long-term Fort Knox folks, as soon as I say Fort Benning, your lips are going to curl and everything. But he is going back to the home of the infantry and now the home of the armor. That's kind of an infantry joke. We wish you well in that new your new endeavors there, and we can't think of a better leader to help push us into this new phase of the Army's history. So now we warmly welcome Colonel Dave Holstead and his wife Missy, and his children Luke, Andrew, and Maggie to the MCOM team and to the helm of the garrison here at Fort Knox, Kentucky. He's been a ground maneuver, and as an infantryman I had to say that, a ground maneuver officer for many years, and he's highly experienced both in tactical and demanding tactical and strategic roles. He has a long history of doing things well and doing them all over the world. Indeed, this is a bit of a reunion for the Holstead family because he has been in East Europe with 5th Corps for the last year. And I got to meet some of them. There's how many are here for the Holsteads? Raise your hand. Look at that. Over at the guest house, they had to eat in shifts. There were so many of them. That's great that you have that backing of your family. That's very powerful. And we welcome you all to here, or welcome you home to Fort Knox, because many of you have been here before. Colonel Holstead, I'm confident that you're going to lead this garrison well, and I just got a couple of things. Like a good Baptist, I've got 3 points that I need to. The chaplain said I had to have 3 points, so I'm going to say that. So just a couple of things for you to remember. First, installation management's a team sport. You can't do it alone. You're going to need everyone here. So start learning them, who they are, and bring them into your fold and into your team. And they are readily going to do that because they want you to succeed here, and they want this garrison to succeed in its mission. What will close the gap between the resources available and the mission that has to be done are the people that you lead here. You're never going to get enough money. You're never going to get enough things. It's the people that are going to make the difference. So invest in them. Listen and lead well. And then lastly, the garrison has many, many skills that are incorporated into the functions that it does here at Fort Knox. But for you, I want you to remember there's only one person whose job description is commander, and that is you. Thank you. So, General Barnett, I know you're the senior commander here, but I hope you don't mind. I'm going to task everybody with just 2 things, if it would, please. First, I want you to join me in welcoming Colonel Holstead and his family here to Fort Knox. Welcome them back to Fort Knox. And please extend your full support to him as he continues the vital work here of generating both the leaders and the lead here for the United States Army and defending this great nation. And then the other one is just simply to thank, as you're here, before you depart, if you're leaving Fort Knox and going home today, just reach out to one of the people that work here at Fort Knox and thank them for the service they provide, this great installation in this community. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an honor to be with you here today, and I thank you all for the tremendous support that you give Fort Knox and our Army and in their service to the nation. May God bless our Army and our great nation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the outgoing United States Army Garrison Fort Knox Commander, Colonel Christopher Ritchie.
My whole speech is messed up. Yeah, so last night I got surprised. Good job, Karen. All right. That was really good. Great surprise. Honestly, one of the best surprises of my life. Thanks for coming, Judith. Thanks for coming, Dad, and being part of this. So, hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here on this awesome day at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Distinguished guests, family, and friends, I truly appreciate each of you taking time out of your schedule to be here today. It's awesome seeing everyone come out to support today's ceremony. Before I get into my speech, some of you may have noticed a special woman sitting in my wife's spot. I wrote this before, all right? But Ms. Prophet, thank you so much for your support to Fort Knox and our soldiers, families, and civilians. And a big thank you from me for pretending to fill in for my wife, all right? So just big round of applause for her. While I'm saying thank you, I'd also like to give a big shout out to our small but mighty headquarters detachment for putting together today's ceremony. I'd like to ask you all to give them a round of applause. The last 2 years has been a wild ride. When I joined the Army, not once did I think, wow, I'd really like to be a garrison commander. My bar for success was not burning Fort Knox down, which, thanks to our Director of Emergency Services and the Fire Department, it never happened. Lieutenant General Jones, Lieutenant General Davis, Brigadier General Barnett, Command Sergeant Major Walls, Mr. Kidd, thanks for the opportunity to lead and serve this great community. I really appreciate it. The relationship between a garrison commander and his senior commander is special, sir, and I appreciate you putting up with me. The Garrison mission set is a wide portfolio, from our air traffic controllers to our cops, to our child care workers, to our range operators, to our recycling center, to our engineers, and all the jobs in between. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you in our workforce for your support, your trust, and your friendship. The workforce is the reason Fort Knox was named Installation of the Year for the Army. You all are the best people I have ever worked with, and I'm proud I get to be a small part of your Fort Knox story. I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Jim Bradford for his coaching and mentoring me in this job. You're one of the best at what you do, sir. In a sense, you remind me so much in this relationship of just that first platoon sergeant and that you get issued to you when you're a new lieutenant. I'd also like to thank all our directors. I appreciated your patience with me as I worked through the understanding the science of installation management. To our mission partners who are very broad, like the LRC, MEDAC, DODEA Schools, Contracting Command, AAFES, Red Cross, Commissary, IHG, and Postal, I just want to say thank you. Your expertise and teamwork are essential for mission success on Fort Knox. Next, I'd really like to give a shout out to the folks that make Fort Knox truly the special place that it is. Central Kentucky is fantastic, and we're fortunate to have legislative leaders, business leaders, and friends of Fort Knox from across Hardin, Meade, and Bullitt County that provide exceptional support to Fort Knox and our soldiers, families, and civilians. I'm going to take a moment to remember some heroes that have fallen this past couple months from our surrounding community. First, I'd like all of us to remember Joe Greer Jr. He died at 89 in Meade County. He passed away on May 9th at Radcliffe Veterans Center. Joe proudly served as a member of the U.S. Army during the Vietnam conflict, earning a Bronze Star. He retired with the Army and then continued his service as a Commonwealth detective and former Brandenburg Chief of Police. He then served as Meade County Sheriff until his retirement in 2003. Next, I'd like all of us to remember Jack Smith, 83, of Elizabethtown, Kentucky. He passed away on June 26. Mr. Smith was a decorated veteran, having served with honor and bravery in the U.S. Army, completing 2 tours in Vietnam. Jack's interests were as rich and varied as his personality. Avid fisherman, had a passion for music and the enchanting world of Disney. Lastly, I'd like us to remember Ed Underhill, 95 years old, Bullitt County. He passed away on July 3rd. Korean War veteran who served in the Army as a combat engineer. He retired from General Electric and lived in Bullitt County for over 60 years. I pointed out folks like this because it's folks like this that make this region what it is and the support that we get. It's the special ingredient for Central Kentucky, that surrounding community that make being a Garrison commander so easy. So thank you to all of our community partners for the support and the friendship. As my time on stage is coming to an end, I'd like to welcome Team Holstead, Dave and Missy, back to Fort Knox, back to Central Kentucky. It's been an awesome couple weeks, Dave. You've got my number. You need anything? Been really great getting to know you. And I know the installation's in great hands. I know you will enjoy the new problem set, taking care of Fort Knox, and I wish you nothing but success. Thank you, everyone, for coming out today. God bless Fort Knox, and God bless the U.S. Army. We are the Army's home.
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Garrison Fort Knox Commander, Colonel David Holstead.
Good morning, Fort Knox. Distinguished guests, family, and friends of this great community, thank you for attending today's ceremony. I'm going to start by asking every green suiter in this room that if you pull 8 hours of guard shift per week, I will ask General Barnett to open Wilson Gate. 06s, I'm talking to you. As Mr. Kidd mentioned, today is a very special day for Team Holstead, not just because of the change of command ceremony, but for the past year I've been gone in Poznan, Poland, and for many of my family in attendance today, 13 total, from Texas to South Carolina to Michigan to Ohio. This is a reunion, many of whom I haven't seen in over 18 months. So I do appreciate each and every one of you for being here. It does mean the world to me that you're here. I want to give a shout out to my brothers and sisters in 5th Corps as well, especially the Victory Corps forward team in Poznan, who apparently ran out of things to do in Europe and is broadcasting this live in the COIC. However, it is not in Maven, so it doesn't count. Keep rowing, VCF. No, seriously, thanks for all the support, not just today, but over the past year as I was a part of that team. It will be done. Quarter of a century ago, I began a wild journey in Army career by checking into New Garden Tower, now long gone, on the other side of 31W as an armor officer. 4 PCSs later, in 25 years, we're back home. This place is as much home as anywhere, and I truly look forward to serving this community with distinction and honor. That career may have only been 4 years had it not been for my experience as a platoon leader on the battlefields of National Training Center, also known as Mother Krasnovia at the time. And a platoon sergeant, my first platoon sergeant was this crusty, Marlboro Red smoking tanker from Brooklyn, New York, Italian, foul-mouthed, named John Boccio, who is in attendance today, and I'd like to ask that we give him a round of applause. I once saw John Boccio run a 14-minute 2-mile PT test and light a Marlboro Red as he crossed the finish line. So, tanker to the core. I also want to thank Chris Ritchie and Judith for everything that you've done over the last 2 years here at Fort Knox. You are well loved. That was evident last night, and it's for good reason. There's no way to prepare a combat arms officer for Garrison Command. I do recognize that, but I feel as well prepared as I can be thanks to Mr. Bradford and you, Chris, for everything you've done over the past 2 weeks. I wish you all the best in Georgia. You've done well done, my friend. Well done. And finally, in closing, to the Fort Knox community, I promise you this, I will give it my all. This is the best installation in the world because of the people of Fort Knox. My intent as your garrison commander is to keep it that way and to make it better. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join in the singing of the Army song. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Installation Management Command Directorate Training Director, Mr. William Kidd, and the United States Army Garrison Fort Knox Commander, Colonel David Holstead, we thank you for your attendance at today's Change of Command ceremony. Colonel Ritchie will receive friends and well-wishers in front of the reviewing area. The Holstead family will host a reception at Saber and Quill directly following the ceremony. Thank you for joining us on this historic occasion.